Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind. Let's watch.
Not mature enough, right? Which I think I am for a marriage. I'm questioning myself now. Like,
you think I'm trying to change you, and I don't want to change you. I think when you're marrying someone, there are...
You think I want to change you, I don't want to change you. You have explicitly said on camera that you have changed him from a boy to a man. And that you are there to teach him things. You've taught him everything that he knows. It's almost like she's just a factory of sayings. Like she just spits out these sayings without thinking, how is this coherent with the rest of my own statements? You know, like when she said at the previous argument, in the kitchen, he asked, did I do anything wrong? She's like, no, you did nothing wrong. He's like, okay. And then the next time we see them, she's like, you failed the test. Well, if I didn't do anything wrong, then which is it? So it's all just jumbled in her head. Sounds immature to me.
Are changes you make because it's a different dynamic in life. Being flirtatious and things is how you are, right? But then when you have someone else in your life, you have someone else to consider constantly. But if you can't do that, don't make me feel like you can and then you don't.
That's not...
If she saw and actually heard what we saw and heard between Nick and Katie, she would have a reason to say that. So I just have to mentalize and put myself in her shoes. She does not know what they talked about, and I think she suspects that he wasn't super flirty with Katie. It could be debated whether or not he was flirting, but he was, the way that Nick was talking to Katie, it came across, at least for a portion of the time, that he was kind of flirting with Katie, but Hannah doesn't know that. So Hannah is basing this entire thing on one event, and that's the duck thing. And I guess that he talked to Katie for a while and was smiling with her or something like that. So she's concluded that he is flirty and that's a problem, okay? And, maybe it is, but it's unclear. The duck situation, in terms of what we saw, I would not characterize that as anyone flirting. Stacy, actually, she fell asleep during that duck scene or before that duck scene and just continued watching the show, over a number of nights. And she kept hearing it, my wife, she kept hearing it being referred to, and she thought, oh, they must not have shown that scene. They're referring to something that happened off camera, is what she thought. And she had a picture in her mind of what that looked like. And then when she was reviewing my episode on that, I, reacted to that and showed that scene. And she was now watching that duck scene for the very first time herself. And she was like, wait, that's what Hannah has been reacting to this whole time? Just that tiny little interaction between two people? It's like, it was harmless. It was nothing. It was silly. It was nothing. So it was nothing. And just the way but when you have to see it a certain way because the alternative is to fall into the despair of the abyss of your personality problem, then, you're going to shoehorn anything in.
I am for a marriage. I'm questioning myself now. Like,
you think I'm trying to change you, and I don't want to change you. I think when you're marrying someone, there are changes you make because it's a different dynamic in life. Being flirtatious and things is how you are, right? But then when you have someone else in your life, you have someone else to consider constantly. But if you can't do that, don't make me feel like you can and then you don't.
That's not what you were saying last night.
What did I say last night? I'd never want to share anything that you don't ever feel comfortable sharing.
Okay, so he is defending himself well. It's brief, but he is saying, well, that's not what you said last night. What you said last night was, I didn't do anything wrong. So what's this all about now? And then she says, what did she say? Something like, I don't want you to share any, or I'm not going to share. I think what she might be saying is, hey, don't air our dirty laundry in front of my friends or something, when yikes, given what she's been doing this whole time. The other thing that I have seen some people commenting on is that Hannah has transgressed by outing Nick about the stuff they've done in the bedroom. And it's possible that it is a transgression. I don't have enough information yet. Maybe it'll come out later. But all that we've seen in the edit was them coming to the party after having one night together in Mexico, and they were kind of joking just privately, the two of them, and he's like, well, we haven't had sex, right? Ha, 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 ha. The way it looked was what they eventually would confirm is that they had or were having sex, and that he had told her, because she said as much, right, to, I think, Marissa, that he didn't want her to talk about it on camera or with other people, which is fine. But then there was a little interaction between the two of them at the same party, and he's like, hey, that thing about not talking about it, like, it's okay. And what I thought we were watching was him saying, don't worry about it. You can talk about it within reason with friends or on camera or something. But we don't know. And on the surface, at the very least, it looks like he's sensitive about that being out there, and that should be respected, right? But we don't know. Did they have more conversations about it? I don't know. So is she transgressing by talking about their sexual life on camera? I don't know. It's similar. There's been other situations like this on the show, and none of us from the outside can answer for Nick. And to answer for Nick is to infantilize him even further. We would want to ask him, Nick, since she was talking on camera about you not going down on her, how do you feel about that? Was that off limits? Was that against the rules? Was that understood that she was not going to talk? Or is that also just kind of hurtful to have out there? Or would he say, well, I'm not happy it's out there, but she's entitled to disclose that or talk about that. Although I'm not happy it's out there, I didn't consider that to be a transgression. Or he would say something different, like, no, although we didn't talk about that directly, I thought she understood that I didn't want all of the details out there. And yeah, that was pretty bothersome. Plus, she misrepresented, which now that I think about it, it could very much be true, right? Also, when you are not in the mood because you're being barked at and criticized, then you're not in the mood, especially if someone is dictating to you exactly what to do, or he just has a thing, or he's inexperienced, or I don't know.
Instantly. But if you can't do that, don't make me feel like you can and then you don't.
That's not what you were saying last night.
What did I say last night? I'd never want to share anything that you don't ever feel comfortable sharing, but like you can share how you felt if you'd like.
Yeah. It's if I just saw that, I wouldn't think much of it, but given the entirety, there's a possibility that was a pretty diabolical, almost, I don't know if I'm just reading into it, but that there's kind of a threat there or something, or at the very least, she's thinking out loud again of like, okay, I don't want him to share the truth, but I'm a truth teller, so I should be okay with him telling the truth. I don't want him to share the truth right now, but how do I feel about this? And so she just says a bunch of words, and then she personalizes it of just like, well, I wouldn't want to share anything that you wouldn't want out there, which is like, so you had permission from him to talk about all the things that you've talked about, even in this lunch or dinner or whatever. But anyway, or you were thinking about his feelings when you were sharing about those things. And then she says, but you can share whatever. So it comes across like someone who has a thing about power and control and is about to is worried that she's about to lose some of that power and control because he is about to tell some truth. And she is talking out loud and maybe even mildly threatening him of just like, if you share what I don't like you to share, then I'm gonna come at you 10 times more. If you humiliate me, I will come down on you like a box of rocks. I will humiliate you 10 times worse. That is the abusive mantra. That is the abusive pattern. That is the abusive threat. I don't know if I'm just reading into it, but let's rewind it and you can be the judge.
You feel like you can and then you don't.
That's not what you were saying last night.
What did I say last night? I'd never want to share anything that you don't ever feel comfortable sharing, but like you can share how you felt if you'd like.
Go ahead, you got the floor.
Interesting. So he turns the table and says, well, tell them what you told me last night. So this is interesting, kind of like a test.
I think sometimes he's not honest and upfront with me because I think that he thinks that if he is honest and upfront with me and that he's not ready for this, then I won't be in his life anymore because I think we do love each other. But if he chooses not to say yes to me, then we will not be together anymore.
The way they made the edit look, because he was nodding his head, but who knows where that nod came from in the whole dinner time, it made it look like that's what he was referring to. I didn't think that's what he was referring. I thought he was referring to when he said, that's not what you said last night, was for his mind. He's like, you told me last night I didn't do anything wrong. And you, at no point did you actually even said I did anything wrong. You weren't even saying I flirted. You were saying that Katie was talking about how hot I was the whole time. And you didn't like that. So that's what you were telling me last night, because this wasn't what they were talking about last night in terms of the edit. So who knows? But, and then she switches gears to this other thing.
Well, how do you feel about that statement?
What I told you last night, like, you have questions about my maturity, social awareness, if I can take care of you, if I can take care of Luna, if I can live in your space with you, like how are our routines gonna mesh? Am I able to change my past ways for this relationship? Like, those are just 6 right off the bat that are huge reservations, right? So.
But those are easy.
I don't know about this friend. She's been misinformed by Hannah. And you got to figure that there's been a lot of conversations that have primed them prior to actually meeting him. So you could only imagine what Hannah has been pumping into their heads about Nick, right? So we have to take it easy on the friends in that way. But this friend, in terms of what's been happening thus far, I've just been like, I don't know, not appreciating her vibe. And it's about to get into that. But anyway, so what they're saying is she is accusing him of not being sure, and she's upset about that. That's what Hannah was saying. And then he counters by saying, well, you have reservations about me, and you have reservations about these things, and those are all big things. And then the friend is saying, well, those are things that can change. Well, maturity, the ability to take care of one's dog, like, yeah, I mean, if it's just like a skill or two or knowledge about where the dog food is, that's okay. But that's not what Hannah is saying. What Hannah is saying, there's something inherently wrong with you. You're a boy that needs me to teach you how to be a man, whatever that is. And so, I don't know why I keep looking for a way out of this. I imagine this will go the same way that other conversations have gone between the two of them.
Fixes. Walking the dog, that's pretty easy.
For sure.
Like that, like
Then do it.
the things that she's saying are just actions. They're not who you are. They're just changing your routine and what you're used to doing to be in a relationship instead of being single.
Mm-hmm. And I'm willing to take on all of those risks and challenges.
That's a risky challenge.
What?
To have care.
Hannah's doing it again. That thing when he, and this is another abusive tactic, that when you as the target comply, you say the right thing, you go along with what's happening, it's still not good enough, because the person who needs to be in control regardless of what's happening. And so she uses these opportunities to pounce on him, to nitpick. And this is what, if you've been a victim, which I know some of you have been, and I'm sorry, some of you are victims now, you're in the midst of an abusive relationship. One of the hallmarks, it isn't always an indication, because it could be distortion and displacement and transference yourself, meaning that your partner might not actually be abusive, but you see them as being abusive. So there's a lot of different possibilities. Of course, talk to a therapist to suss all this out. But for someone that is being abused legitimately, and they will almost always report a feeling that nothing they did was okay. Nothing they did was right. They were always wrong. No matter what happened, they were always wrong, because the abusive, controlling, coercive, grandiose, superior, abusive person never let the victim, the target, be okay, be right, be at their level. They always had to establish. So there are you could consider it to be two camps or two modes. When they are determining that you are screwing up, they're like, you are screwing up, you're wrong, you're wrong. And then when you're right, when you comply, they have this other mode of like, nitpick, you're still wrong. You're still wrong. We've seen that not many times. We've seen that a handful of times in this interaction. I don't know if it's abusive. I'd have to have more information. I'd have to talk with him in particular, but it has the pattern.
I'm willing to take on all of those risks and challenges.
That's a risky challenge.
What?
To have characteristics to be in a relationship.
No, I'm willing to do this for you.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I'm not
right? I
asking
just
you to
don't
change
want
who you
these
are.
to
I'm not asking
linger
you to be a
on.
different person. I'm asking.
God damn. It gets worse and worse. You're not asking him to change. It's like this constant moving target. I'm not asking you to change. I'm not asking you to change. I'm not asking you to change. I need you to change. I need you to change. I'm not asking you to change. I'm not asking you to change. I need you to change. I need you to be different. I'm going to change you from a boy to a man. I'm not asking you to change. I'm not asking you to do it. I need you to. There's so many things that are wrong with you. I need you to change. Gaslighting. That if you are stuck in a relationship with someone for a long enough time, you'll lose contact with the ground and you will not know which way is up. And that's when you have lost. That's when the abusive person can say anything and do anything because you are no longer in contact with the ground because they've removed you. Now, I want to be clear. I don't know about Hannah. Maybe this is a put on. Maybe I'm biased. Well, everyone's biased, so I know I'm biased. But maybe I'm biased and completely wrong about the whole thing. But I do know one thing is that I do see signs that Hannah can change this. This is not, it's rare that this is the case anyway, but what the internet will do is if you're labeled an abusive person or you're seen that way or you're a narcissist, then you're a lost cause. There's no way for you to reform. There's nothing good about you. You are dead to us. I don't see Hannah like that in the least. If anything, if I am seeing it accurately, I do think that she is actually fairly close to recovery. It might take a couple years, but I think she is further down the road already of at least signs of humility and signs of a template of a mindset that does lend itself to humility and compassion. I think she has some traumas to work through. I don't know what those are, but I assume. So I do believe in Hannah. I do believe that she can change. She's young too. You know, she's inexperienced, perhaps immature. She has a lot to learn. So it could just change from that. But I suspect that there's a fair amount of recovery that needs to be done clinically that, you know, a lot of us have. And I do believe that she can change. I do believe that she might even know she has to change. And I'm not saying that she is a lost cause. And I'm only saying things that I am seeing right now that are paralleled in my clinical work. But I can't know if this is what I am paralleling.
I want these to
I'm not asking
linger
you to be a
on.
different person. I'm asking you to respect me. I'm asking you to be not flirtatious. I'm asking you
But
to
I feel like I do
pick up-
respect you.
to do the things that I do as well. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to change your personality, to change like what you like to do or your hobbies. That's not what I'm asking for. I'm asking for very small things that to you are huge.
So she's about to say, do you know what I mean? Maybe they do understand each other, but if I were Nick, and I am glad that he's sticking up for himself if the edit is representative of the relationship, which I can't know. But I hope he asks, I actually don't know what you mean. What do you mean by respect? When have I disrespected you? Tell me a moment in which I disrespected you, please. You're saying when? When I rode the duck and a woman came up to me and rode the duck with me and we just sort of laughed about it for 3 seconds and you had the ick, how is that disrespectful to you? It was disrespectful to you when I talked with Katie for a while, and you could have talked with anyone else you wanted to as well, and I said to Katie that I was with you now. What was disrespect? You saw it as disrespectful, but was it disrespectful? What chores or what do you want me to change? What is it? Now, there are hints that there is something going on about maybe walking the dog or something that he's not doing when he's been asked. I don't know. If I'm reading it right, it'd be good for him to ask, I actually don't know what you mean. Name a moment in which I was disrespectful.
You know what I mean?
You're saying these challenges and these whatever, it sounds to you like it's a lot and it's a lot of work and it's all this stuff when it's really not. It's really simple, easy things.
If you're a friend and you've only heard from your friend and you haven't heard from the other person, then you need to recognize that you don't understand the situation and you might just want to stay out of it or be more tentative.
Respect me, walk the dog, pick up around the house. Like, you're acting like this is a huge thing you have to change and do, and it's not.
I don't think it's a huge thing I need to change, and I'm willing to do that.
So why is it so hard for you to get there then?
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say too. You say that.
How does he not just throw his hands up and walk? He has the patience of a sloth, of a saint. How does he? I could not do that. Although he's starting to look like he's gonna cry because of the way he's being treated and ganged up on right now. I would just, if I were him, I'd be like, okay, can someone just be concrete instead of all these blanket disrespectful insults of who I am as a person? Can we talk about what exactly? Now they're editing it and they seem to be, at least the friends, in agreement that there are certain things that they know that he isn't doing, like walking the dog or picking up around the house. So has there been conversations around that they're just editing out or something? I don't know.
That it's not a huge thing, but then you're like, I have doubts about like getting married because of the 6 things that you like named off, right?
She doesn't want you to change who you are.
Like, I love you so much, and I never question like your love for me, ever.
Yeah, all you got to do is look at the cycle, and it plays itself out. It's the berating and the harm and the hurt and the put downs, and then it's the repair. I love you, baby. Here's some flowers. I'm sorry for last night. Ick.
I think the only thing I question if like you're ready to like be able to like fully commit to me, to like marry me and be like the husband that like I deserve. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, this is, yeah. If this doesn't give you the ick, then we are not in the same reactivity ballpark. Yeah. I'm trying to remember the last time I felt this way on this show. I certainly didn't feel this way with the UK version. With the US version, I don't know, I feel like it's been a while. I guess the whole Uche, but I don't think I felt it's hard because he seemingly takes it and thinks it's okay, kind of, that it's happening. I mean, he does push back passively, but not nearly enough. I mean, he seems to be holding on. He still is holding on. You know, he'll say things eventually that are obvious, like, hey, that's not what you said last night. But then it just blows past and he doesn't do any follow-up. He doesn't hold her to it. So it's disheartening because of that, right? You're just watching someone being bulldozed and trampled on and then ganged up on by her friends. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.